Welcome to On Air with Russell of Hotels, where we talk about everything hospitality, from hotels to influencers and everything in between. We will feature guest interviews with hospitality professionals who will share their experiences. Your host, Russell Edmond, has spent over 25 years in the hospitality industry, beginning his career with Marriott International in hotel operations before moving into the sales arena and becoming a relationship building director of sales and marketing. Russell then went to the other side as a hospitality entrepreneur. He now consults in the hotel and meeting space, which includes being the CEO of Russell of Hotels Group. Did I mention he was a veggie foodie? Yes. Russell is always looking for good non-meat eats. Please welcome your host, Russell Edmond.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining On Air with Russell of Hotels. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I don't know. Oh, yeah. When you have your own show, you got to be the writer, the producer, the star of the show, the director, and sometimes I misdirect myself. I don't know what happened, but anyway, I was hearing some feedback. I was like, what is that? Or is that just me talking too loud? I don't know. It kind of scared me. It startled me, whatever it was. But anyway, thank you so much for joining On Air with Russell of Hotels. I do appreciate you guys joining in. I don't take it lightly that people actually would join in and listen to some of the stuff that we have to talk about hospitality-wise, and today will be no exception because we have a firehouse today on that's coming to the stage in a little while. And I've been rehearsing this, and I hope I don't get it wrong. But her first name is Stephanie, and it's Cordin. Carradin. You know what? And I was practicing, and I still got it wrong. So, but Stephanie Carradin will
all
be coming
good,
up.
All good.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. So, but we're going to be bringing her on the mic in a couple minutes. I just have a couple things. I got a couple things we got to go through just before we bring her on. But I just want to make sure I welcome. And I always remember this for the people that watch and listen. I do appreciate the feedback and everything you guys give us during the show, the comments, the participation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So Lonnie Wolf is always here, so I appreciate Lonnie Wolf for coming on. I hear you loud, looking sharp. Oh, I'm trying, Lonnie. Okay, you talking about me looking sharp? Or Stephanie looking sharp? I'm not sure, but if you're talking about me, then okay, thank you so much. Stephanie looks beautiful as well. So, but I put this shirt on especially for you, Lonnie. So thank you so much for noticing it. So, but no, we do appreciate you guys, and Robin Moncrief is here. She's with Don't Look Under the Bed podcast. I do appreciate you coming on as well, and like I said, I do appreciate the comments and the encouragement, and it just makes things go a little. I think it goes a lot smoother, and I just like the dialogue. I mean, it just goes back and forth, and a lot of these people that are on here, they're hospitality people as well, and they always want to talk about their experiences, or they share certain things, or they make comments about that, and I do appreciate that. We appreciate it. So thank you so much. But anyway, we're gonna get into this. Okay, so hopefully I do this thing right. See, I messed it up already. But anyway. I'm not sure if Stephanie can see that, but that's okay, Stephanie. I'm going to come back to you. This is Black History Month, of course, so every week I've been saying that I'm going to do a Black History quote, okay? So this is my Black History quote of the week, and it goes as this. It's the magic within each of us that gives us the potential to inspire the world, okay? And who said that? Kobe Bryant, okay? I'll read it again. It's the magic within each of us that gives us the potential to inspire the world. So I always look at that. I always think about stuff like that. And, I talk about inspired, just being, inspirational. I don't think sometimes we're trying to do it intentional. But sometimes if you're doing good work, you're good things, people are inspiring you, or you're being the inspiration to someone. And you never know who you're inspiring with your words, or me just coming on this show, or Stephanie coming on this show, or Stephanie doing her own thing. You just never know who you're inspiring. So my thing is, we all have it within us, just like Kobe said in that quote. We all have it within us. So if you're doing good stuff, people are going to be watching it. Okay, people are going to listen, and people may want to emulate what you do. So that's why one of the things that I always said, this year I'm going to be intentional about what I do, and I want to make sure I'm represented. Meaning, people that look like me are represented in doing this kind of stuff. Which means that anyone can do a podcast. Okay, you can come on the podcast and do your own thing. You can be the director, the producer, the writer, the host. I mean, I do all this stuff, right? Not that I'm bragging, but I can't pay no one to do it because I don't have no money. So that's what it comes down to. That's the only reason why I do it, because there's some people that have shows, they have all these people in the background, right? Well, I don't have it, so I have to do it. So what I'm trying to say is, don't let, okay, because I don't have this, I don't have that. Don't let that stop you from doing your own show or podcast or hospitality talk show or something similar to this, because I don't have that stuff either. But I think it's just serious enough that I have enough information, enough knowledge to carry a show like this, right? So just make sure you know what you're talking about when you get on here, and do what you do, whatever that is. But don't let anyone stop you from doing it, because I'll tell you this. Well, before I started this show, I had many people said, you know what are you going to talk about? Why are you going to do this show? A show about what? What do you know? I mean, things like that. So, but 147 shows later, guess what? I'm still doing it. So don't ever let anybody, what am I trying to say? I remember this coach always used to say when my daughter was in school. He said, "Don't ever let anyone steal your joy." That's what he would always say. That when he let people get in their head, he said, "Let me come over here. Let me tell you something. Don't let anyone steal your joy." You know what I mean? So I always remember that, and I use that line all the time. So Coach Renee, he passed away a couple of years ago, but I'm still using your line, Coach Renee. So I appreciate you giving some knowledge to us. So. But anyway, so that's that. Industry news. Industry news is just basically going to be about the Super Bowl today, because we're just finishing up the Super Bowl. It was a couple of days ago. Lonnie says I'm freezing up. I do apologize if I'm being glitchy, but we're going to continue on. I think Stephanie's okay. I think she can still hear me. But yeah, we may be a little glitchy, and for some reason that's what happens. Sometimes I don't know why. But anyway, we'll continue on. And I did ask Stephanie, if we did lose connection somehow, let's just come back on and we'll reconvene. So hopefully the people that are watching, they realize that if we do, stick with us, and we'll get through this together. So anyway, so Super Bowl just finished, right? So everything went great. Weather was 84 degrees, right? It was the picture perfect day for Super Bowl. I mean, the whole couple of weeks were picture perfect. Yeah, guess what? Today is cold and rainy. I was like, what the heck? So I'm glad the Super Bowl happened on Sunday, because today it's cold and rainy today. So I didn't get that, but no, everyone had a good time. I do appreciate, people reaching out to me, asking me about hotel information and stuff like that. I mean, stuff like that I do appreciate. You guys ask me, that kind of stuff, because I'm here to help. So I do appreciate that. Everything went off without a hitch. I didn't go to the game, no, but I did do the NFL experience, which was a lot of fun with the kids. So you got the chance to, try to kick field goals and extra points and run the football and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't do that. The kids did that. Okay. So I spared myself the injuries, or pain the next day. So, but they had a good time, and it was great. And then just so happened that the same night that we went to the NFL experience, they were having the NFL Honors Awards or whatever. I guess that coincides with the Super Bowl, and that was right next door at the Staples Center. So I was at the convention center, and then the NFL Honors at the Staples Center, which is literally a block away. And traffic was crazy, of course, and then the expense of parking. Oh, it was ridiculous. It was like $50 a park, when normally it's like $10 a park down there. So, but I came prepared because I knew it was going to be crazy. So it did happen, and it was fun. So we all had a good time. So I just want to mention that, and everyone in hospitality did a great job. And this is the time now that we're on this high after Super Bowl, that Southern California is hot now, right? So everybody wants to come to SoCal. So make sure hotels, tourism boards, and all that stuff, make sure you stay on your game. And the people that are on the fence about booking this as a destination. Well, this is the time to start showing them, what happened during the Super Bowl and how perfect everything went, right? So that's the thing that we need to worry about. And COVID, the protocol standards were all, well, I think they're all in place. At least they're in place at the convention center, because when I went to the convention center, they made sure everyone had masks on and things like that. And you had to show your actual card or a negative test that you before you can enter the convention center. I'm not sure they did a Super Bowl because I did not go to that, but in my past experience, they were doing that at other games, so I would assume they're doing the same thing. But anyway, yeah, Lonnie says glad safety COVID protocols were in place at Super Bowl. Yes, they were. So there you go. Thank you so much. So anyway, that's all I had to say about the kind of industry news, but there was more Super Bowl news than anything. So we are going to introduce Miss Stephanie Carradine. Did I say it right that time?
Good.
Okay. I'm gonna do the quick bio, and then we're gonna bring her in. Stephanie Carradine is the founder of DEMBO Incorporated. She has over 18 years of experience in providing leadership and development training and life coaching to individuals and groups from varied industries. She holds an MBA and a master's degree in mental health counseling. This unique combination of knowledge and length of industry experience enables her to draw out underlying factors that may be impacting an organization's growth, and thus provide effective solutions. Stephanie is an advocate of employee empowerment and dynamic leadership. She believes that when employees feel valued by their leaders and trusted with their abilities, they are motivated to perform their best. Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. So coming to the microphone now is Miss Stephanie Carradine. So she didn't even know we had a live studio audience here. But thank you so much, Stephanie.
I did not.
I do appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your story and your knowledge of all the things we're going to talk about. So, real quick, tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got into hospitality, and how this all came about.
Sure, sure. So thank you so much for having me on this show, Lonnie. Russell, I
I'll
appreciate
say
it.
you
Um,
owe me that one. You owe me that one.
right? I appreciate it, Russell. But yes, so I've been in hospitality almost my entire life. Since I was 16, I started as a server, then bartender, then moved into hotels. And in between time, there was a time where I thought I wanted to leave hospitality, right? So I went back to school and got my master's degree as a counselor. I did that for about a year and a half, part time, while I was still in working in a hotel. And after about a year and a half, I decided I can do this part time, but I cannot do it full time. So I started using that knowledge inside of the operations that I was working. I started using mental wellness to direct my team. I was a manager in operations at the time, and I started using mental wellness to direct my team. I started creating some trainings for the department that I was in, and my my director noticed and started to ask me to write bigger trainings until I moved into human resources, into a learning and development position. And then my following hotel, I became a director in learning and development. And that's how the whole training and coaching came about. And that's also how the mixture between, hotel operations and mental wellness became a thing for me in training and coaching team members.
Wow. So you did come up through the ranks. It's just that you made a slight detour and did some other
Yes.
things. Got your masters and things like that. Did you get the masters and the MBA at
Yes.
the same time?
No, no, I had my MBA first.
Okay.
When I was, focused on hospitality, I got my MBA. And then I went back because I thought I was done with hospitality. I thought
Oh,
I was
okay,
done.
okay.
So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go get my counseling degree and go do that. But that didn't. pan out the way I
Okay.
wanted it. I missed hotels, and I missed, my full-time work. So I went back into that. And plus counseling, yeah, I can do it part-time, but full-time I had a hard time separating the things that I was hearing, as a counselor. And then
Okay.
going home to my kids, I'm like, you have to do this and you need to be careful. And I became paranoid. So it was best for me to merge the two.
Okay. Okay. So
Hmm.
okay. Before I get into any questions, I'm gonna read this statement, and then we're gonna go from there. If that's okay.
Go
And
for
this is
it.
the first. This is the first time I've ever read a statement prior to a guest coming on here. Just so the listening audience or the watching audience knows, right? So, but
I
anyway,
feel special.
okay, okay. Well, let me finish and we'll see how special I am. No, I'm joking. Okay. The pandemic has made people change in ways that they wouldn't that they thought they wouldn't. Career changes, quitting their jobs, doing gig work versus being tied down to a 9 to 5, and the list goes on. We are living in the great resignation, and a lot of people have come to realize how either their jobs treated them how their jobs treated them, good or bad, but it forced them into making career life decisions when it comes to work. Some people have lost loved ones due to COVID. So that is an entirely different level that people are dealing with and have been forced to really enjoy life, enjoy the smaller things, and not taking family for granted, etc. And not to work and not to be at work all the time and take time to enjoy life because it's short. So, based on that statement there, what would you say? What do you say about that statement? And as it relates to people that are in the hospitality space, and we're talking about labor shortages and things like that, or maybe even the mental health part of it. What does that say about that?
So there's a lot going on in that statement. So I'll start with the Great Resignation and people doing gig works and as opposed to their 9 to 5 and so on and so forth. So yes, that has happened a lot, and the reason being um, is that one, as the person mentioned in that statement, people had time to understand how work is treating them, how their leaders, their managers are treating them, and because when COVID happened and everything shut down and people just went home, had to go home, they had to lay off people, they had to send them home. The hotel industry was like at a full stop. So people realized that, hey, I'm busting myself to work here, but as soon as something happens, then I don't have any place to work. And it's not necessarily the industry's fault. They didn't have a job to give them. So they realized that there's first of all there's got to be options, so they've got to, even though they have that full-time job, they have to understand where they can get a different revenue, different income, just in case something like this happens again. And secondly, they understand that, or not understand, but they may feel, as I've spoken to several people, and this is how they feel, that there's no loyalty, or the loyalty is one way. So they're giving their loyalty to the employer, but as soon as something happens, the employer is like, "Oh, I don't have money to pay you. You need to go home." So they're seeing work differently now, as to where before they're like, oh, you know what, this is my job. I can't just get up and leave, first of all because I need the income, but also because I owe the my employer. I've been here for 10 years, for 15 years, I owe them that much, right? So now they're like, no, I'm not going to do that, because they didn't do that for me, or they're not going to do that for me anymore. So if somebody is being rude, or if they don't like the way that the culture is, or anything, for any reason these days, they're just going to get up and leave and be like, you know what, I can go deliver, I can go do Uber Eats, I can go drive Uber, I can go do Amazon Prime. There's so much I can do at this point that I don't have to take this from a leader. So that's on that side, from the great resignation part. And I put that in quotes because I have certain feelings about that whole thing, labor shortage and great resignation, but that's for a whole other show. And then the second part of that is, with what they said, so many people lost their lives, and people realize that work is not everything anymore. I'm before, even though a lot of times we would say we work to live, but we weren't showing that. That wasn't our actions. Our actions portrayed more living to work. And now people are really taking that we work to live seriously. We can't make work a priority over our lives. We can't make work our priority over, our health, mental and physical. And people are really, digging into that and taking that seriously. So that statement, yeah, I've seen it a lot lately.
Wow, wow, yeah. I
Mm.
I actually got that statement came from. I didn't write this statement. I mean,
Mhm.
someone actually gave it to me. So I had a couple of weeks ago, I was going back and forth on a conversation between an old colleague of mine and on LinkedIn. So we're going back and forth.
Mhm.
She was asking me a question. I asked her a question, and I asked her a question, and I forgot what the question I even asked. It was like 2 weeks ago, and I got this statement. Just so happens I get this statement back this morning prior to us coming on this show, and I was like, "Oh
Uh-huh.
my goodness!" I mean, she's hitting a lot of points. Like you said, there's a lot
Mhm.
to unpack in that letter, but
Yeah.
she hit a lot of points that we're going to talk about today. So I just thought it was
Talk
just
about
perfect.
timing.
Exactly. Timing's everything. So, like you said, this is
Right?
like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, what is this? And what is this long thing that I'm reading? But yeah. So that is interesting. So, okay. So, there's a lot of that. I mean, I'm in California, right? You're in Florida. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of people here that have left their jobs and they're not coming back. Okay. I mean, it can be a situation where maybe they're aging out, meaning they're close to retirement, or
Mhm.
maybe they just, like you said, they weren't treated well on their job or during this. It may not have been the whole part of their careers with that particular hotel or that particular company, but maybe how they were treated during COVID. You know,
Exactly.
maybe there weren't a lot. There were the communication breakdown was well, the communication broke down. Are you hearing a
It
lot of
did.
that?
Yes, yes. I A lot of people were actually surprised. I've heard several employees say that they were surprised to see that after, like you said, 5 years of good um, work relationship, good communication, that as soon as this happened, which was a huge thing and it happened to the whole world, and we understand that. But for the team member that's been there for so long, they felt like they deserved more from their leaders when it comes to communicating how this was going to happen, when it comes to the timing and how long they gave them. Like, some people literally had a day or two before they were, just let go. And so that, even though they told them, yeah, we'll bring you back, but nobody knew when that bring back was going to happen, right? So it was really stressful. And even with the leaders that actually had to break this news, they were stressed out because they didn't know anything more than what the team members knew. So they were
Mm-hmm.
just going from one day to the next as much as the team members. So this wasn't really a thing where it was your fault, my fault. It was more of we were all in the dark and didn't know how to work through or navigate through. And there wasn't communication to that effect. Nobody was saying, hey, I just don't know. I'm here to help you, but I really don't know what to tell you at this point. And I think if people were saying that more to their team members, they would have had a better feedback. Just be honest, transparent. I don't know. And obviously, a lot of people don't like to say I don't know. So,
Yeah, no, I understand that. I understand it. But
yeah,
I guess in all fairness to some of the leaders, I mean, this or every leader, I mean, this is uncharted territory. No one's been there
exactly. Hmm.
before. Um, but okay, how do you think the leadership could have done this better? I mean, is it just about the communication part of it? Does it go back further than just when the pandemic hit, or what do you think about that?
So, in our industry in particular, we've had, and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. We've had our issues pre-pandemic. So, with training, a lot of times I like to use that example, and not just formal training, but when somebody comes in, let's use a brand for example. They'll like for people to have training already from that brand because when they come in, they just want them to be ready to go. But the thing is, And that was a lot of times a breakdown for new team members, for new hires. Because the thing is, even though they may know the brand and they know the systems, they don't know your property. So they do still need some of that. And that was frustrating even before COVID. So that was one of the points of frustrations that team members had that I've heard boiled up during COVID, on top of everything else that was happening. And the other part of that was just basically culture. We always had a cultural breakdown in corporate as a whole, right? Most places, we had that issue where we didn't have enough flexibility, or they were requiring things of us that we just as humans couldn't juggle. And all of that just was a boiling point when COVID came. We were dealing with it before COVID, but as COVID came and we got layoffs and we saw all these people getting sick and even dying, it was just like, oh no, I don't want to have to deal with this type of thing. And in our industry, in hospitality, it's hard. You have to be passionate. You have to love it. The hours are long, for frontline. We get the guests that are drunk, that are, you know, over the top sometimes, that just don't want to listen to anything. So our work is already hard. So if we're dealing with management or leaders that are not supporting us or that are not backing us up, a lot of times it's just overwhelm and burnout. And we did have a lot of that before going into COVID, if we're being honest, right? So coming into COVID, it was just crazy. So that's why we lost so many people, and we're not getting them back. Like, they went back to school, they went into different industries and all of that. And now we just have to, work on bringing our hospitality back into hospitality.
I like that. I like that. So, so we're not worrying about the people that left because those people are gone, right? I mean, for the most part.
Well, we're hoping that they'll come back eventually. I came back. I thought I was done with hospitality, but then, and this was way before COVID. And then I came back. I realized that, you know what, this is all I know, really. This is what I really really know and what I'm really passionate about. So we're hoping that eventually they will get back on their feet and come back into hospitality. It'll be a different way. We have to work on our culture. We have to work on training. We have to work on not just pushing our rock star team members into leadership roles without giving them the training that they need. We have to work on certain things, but I'm hopeful.
Okay, no, yeah, I like that. I like that. I'm not gonna share why I left, and I don't think I'm coming back. But anyway, that's another story for another show, right? But you
But you're
mentioned
still in it, in a way.
you mentioned, and I hear this a lot, not
Mhm.
just within our industry, but this company culture. Um, we are redefining our company culture and all this kind of stuff. Those are buzzwords, right? We hear them all the time. So what does that mean, first of all, or where does that how do you get that? How do you get this company culture back, or how do you reestablish a company culture? If I'm even making sense.
Yes, you're definitely making sense. And I'm going to even add how you establish a company culture, because some of
Okay,
them never
okay.
had really anything, you know.
Thank
But
you.
so to begin with, knowing exact first of all, we have to know what we want, what the value of the companies are, what the mission of the company is. And we have to make sure that we're walking that walk and talking that talk, right? We have to make sure that the leaders are on the same page when it comes to what we want our team members to feel, and how we want our team members to um, take leadership, ownership of their roles. We have to know how we want that to happen and be super clear on what that looks like for, the leaders in the company, and then trickling it down to our frontline leads and even shift supervisors, and so on and so forth. So it's basically having an understanding, a wholesome understanding, I guess I should say, of how we function in this company as a unit. And how we get that is basically to just start walking that walk as leaders and then allowing it to trickle down to these team members. Because us telling them that we want them to be some this way and we want to do that, and even with DEI and all of that, it's a buzzword until the leaders start acting upon it, right? And that's basically how we get that, or reestablish it, establish it, or however we wanna start working on it.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. But it's up to the. But it comes down to the leaders, right? It has to be. It
It
has to
does.
start at the top, right?
It
Because
has to start at the top.
yeah, I mean, I've been in situations. I mean, I know when I was a general manager how I wanted
Hmm.
the hotel to run and how I
Hmm.
wanted people to be respected and things like that. But
Hmm.
I wasn't always the GM, right? In fact, my last experience, and probably one of the main reasons why I left this industry, is because we had a GM that he had no plan. I mean, he he was ruling, or and I'm gonna use the word ruling. It wasn't like managing, screaming and yelling and cussing people out, and clients included. I mean, that was how he dealt with like adversity or things that weren't go right or whatever. But that's not, and I have to, and I stopped and I look back on my past experiences, and not a lot of them, but a lot of them didn't have a plan on how we're going to run this hotel, right? Do I have an open door policy? Do we zero tolerance on this kind of behavior, zero tolerance on that? One that manages by walking around. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of GMs that I work for, especially the bigger properties, they don't come out of their office, right? So, and they don't know who the line people are. They don't know who the housekeepers are. You give me a GM that knows everyone, that checks rooms, that goes behind the front desk and talks to people, or up on the roof with an engineer because there's a problem with the AC unit. That's a GM that I'm a follow, because he knows what's going on. He or she knows what's going on, right? But
Yep.
but how do you? I mean, who's high? I don't know. I guess I'm this may be 2 hours. I don't know this show
Tell
because I
me.
got so many questions. But how do we get those people to do those things though? I mean, because and I know I'm bouncing around, but okay, we have corporations like and I'll just throw some names. We got Marriott, we got Hilton, okay, the top two of the top three, right? And but they hire people and hopefully they're running it, by the standards of the corporate office, right? But then you have, and those could be managed properties, but then you have properties that aren't managed properties, that they're franchise properties, and maybe operated by a management company, right? Who maybe don't
Mhm.
go through the same hiring as say with Marriott when they hired their corporate people. So there's inconsistency, I guess, in maybe in the hiring. I mean, what have you
Mhm.
seen, and what have you seen that works?
So one of the things that I always suggest with like that, for instance, is that they have a uniform. So even with the franchisees, they should have a uniform way of, hiring and training GMs and anybody that's in that top level of management, so that those things that are in corporate are trickling down. Obviously, it doesn't always happen that way, but what I've usually said and what I've usually seen where it works best is because that GM started the way maybe you and I started. Like, we've worked in a few departments and know what's going on. So because when there's like I guess a property management um that's hiring the GMs, or um a franchisee that has like maybe one hotel or whatever, and then you can't tell them how to manage who they're going to put on top or who's going to be there, that's where the rub gets, a little bit sticky, because those people have to understand that if they don't have that particular set of skills, they need to find it, they need to learn, they need to get a coach, they need to get trained on that particular um hospitality point. right? Because like the one thing that I kept thinking when you were describing the person that's, yelling and not sitting in their office, and I'm like, well, even if that person wasn't a GM, that's not really hospitable. So how did they even get that far in their journey if they're not even, able to treat a guest like a guest or a team member as an internal guest, right? So for me, it's about where the training starts. Like, who is responsible for, is it the property management company that's responsible for making sure that their GMs are well trained enough and know that they're going to have hands on people, especially at the smaller properties? The bigger properties, on the flip side of that, is how many are they putting enough people um in enough places to make sure that what they can't reach, what they can't touch, since they're only one person and the property might be huge, but are they making sure that they have the right people in the right places to keep them, first of all, involved, but also to do what they should be doing, right? So those are the things that people don't know what they don't know, Russell. You don't know what you don't know. So if you've never been taught or they've never learned it before, they won't know. But so that's where hiring is important. That's where knowing who you're bringing on and how they're coming on is important. That's where training becomes important, and not just throwing somebody in just because they've been a GM before, and seeing how they work as you train them. That's why all of those things are important.
I got you. I got you. Ooh, I got kind of emotional. You guys see how I was going with that one? But but yeah, some people just shouldn't be. Some people shouldn't even be managers, like you said. I mean, let alone
They
a
shouldn't.
GM. But because there's one of these situations because oh, this person worked with this other person who was in a higher position. I'm gonna recommend this person to that
Mhm.
job, not knowing if this
Mhm.
person was qualified or not. This person had not
Mhm.
been a GM before. Um,
Mhm.
and because they were friends, okay, I'm gonna bring this person in because his
Mhm.
next step would be a GM, but let's bring him here. And that it was a, I mean, you talking about a recipe for disaster. That's what exactly what it
Yes.
was. Yeah. So,
And
but anyway,
that's
we're
why we
I'm sorry.
lose. Oh, I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say that's why we lose a lot of our team members, because when things like that happen and they've been here working, they're like, "Oh no, we're not going to do this." You know?
Exactly. And why come back to that same kind of crap? I'll just put it like that. Why come
Mhm.
back to that same kind of
Mhm.
crap if he or she's not going to change. I mean, the
Mhm.
situation has gotten worse. So why now all of a sudden is this
Exactly.
person going to change? So why would I come back and subject myself to this more mess? So, but yeah, but
Exactly.
thank you, thank you. So we're
Mhm.
on with Stephanie Karadin. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay, Karadin. Okay,
Got it.
and we're talking about a lot of stuff. I mean, we're unpacking stuff about leadership. We're going to get into some emotional leadership in a minute, but I just wanted to. We got David London. Thank you so much for joining. Maret Padavani, thank you. Craig Giangrosso, thank you. Robin Moncrief, Lonnie Wolf, of course, thank you so much. And Robin said, who is holding who accountable for the DEI? It's words on paper. That's what she said.
Yes. And that, I just brought that up, right? Who, like,
Mm-hmm.
everybody, because we went through what we went through with, and when the George Floyd events happened, and everybody decided that, they're gonna put DEI. But who, like, I mean, it's more than just hiring a black person, obviously, and putting them leader of the DEI. So who is holding who accountable? And it's the same thing I feel with the GM. Who's holding the GM accountable, right? So that's the $1 million question. How do we find out who is going to make sure that these things are happening on us, especially on us in a smaller property? In corporate, we can kind of be like, okay, we can, go up to the top until we get to that last person and be like, yo, nothing's working. But in a smaller property that's independent, I mean, it's their property. What do
That's
you do
true.
there, right?
That's true. What do you do? Exactly. What do you do? What do you do?
Yeah.
So, wow, there's a lot. We're just gonna be scratching the surface here. You may have to come on. We may have to do like a 5-part series on you
Right?
because this is okay. What is emotional leadership?
So, emotional leadership is when the leader looks within to find what is going on, what their leadership style is. How do they want to portray themselves as a leader? Are they holding themselves accountable? Are they even leading themselves? Right? So, that, the same as what we were just talking about with the GM. Are you leading yourself? Because if you can't lead yourself, how are you leading others? And that's what
Well,
I call being emotionally an
well,
emotional
how do they
leader.
get to that point though? How do they get to that point where they want to know how they're leading? Or is there some type of um, I mean, do they have to go through a test, or you have to sit down and talk to them, or they have to come to realization that you know what, I want to know how I'm, how effective I am as a leader.
So I think I've had several different ways, right? So there are hotels that are like, you know what? We need somebody to come in and kind of take a look at all of our shift managers and just kind of evaluate how things are going. And a lot of times that happens because there are complaints, because they realize that their team members are not motivated, and so on and so forth. And on the flip side of that, you have newer leaders. Like I think I used the example earlier that you have a rock star team member, right? Let's say you have a rock star front desk and they are killing it. They've been doing it for a while, they can do it in their sleep, and then boom, there's a supervisor position open. And you're like, okay, that's basically the next step. Like, you got it. But this person has never led a team. They know how to work the system, but they've never led a team. So with that, sometimes you'll get people come to you and be like, you know what? I know how to do my work, but I do not know how to manage people, and I need help with that. And then there's that last portion of people who have been directors, executives for a very long time, but also always get the same complaints from their team members, always get the same issues. People are unhappy with certain things that they're doing, and they realize that there's something maybe that they need to work with. Right? There's something there that they want to improve, that they want to move forward with. So there's, various ways that they can come to that realization, but most times it's the company that's like, yeah, we need you to look at these people. Something is not working.
Okay, I got you. And is that something they bring you in for to evaluate
Yes,
team members?
yes, yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
okay, then you must stay really busy then. There's a lot of hotels that need some help.
Yes, yes, yes.
I love that. I love that. Very good. Very good. So, what about leaders that empower?
So leaders that empower are those who, they pretty much know who they are. They pretty much, I was reading something today on a group, and it's a good example for this, where somebody in HR said that there was a manager that came to them and was like, this employee is being disrespectful. And so she goes, okay, well, what is it that they're doing that's disrespectful? Oh, it's the way they sit. They sit like they're not engaged. And then she's like, okay, is she doing her job? Yes, she's doing perfectly her job. Is she a team player? Yes, she works well with the others. Has she ever voiced any disrespect, anything? No, but she's being disrespectful. So the HR person concluded that maybe she's just, threatened because this person can do the job as well as she can, or something like that. And it made me think about about leading, the empowerment piece of it. This is a team member that you're supposed to be like, you can do your job. Let me just let you do your thing
Yeah,
and,
leave me
be
alone.
happy. Is there anything I can give you? Is there any more tools? Like, but then you're, pulling them out and creating something that's not there because they may be from a different culture, or they may, see something differently. I once had, and this was earlier in my career, I was, early 20s. I had somebody tell me that I was disrespectful because I didn't look them in the eye. Well, I'm from the Caribbean. We are taught not to look our elders straight in the eye. So I would feel that I'm disrespecting you by doing that. But now you're thinking, without even talking to me or asking me why I'm doing it, you're telling me that I'm being disrespectful. So I think empowering is talking to your team members, asking them what they need, giving them the tools that they need, and even if they're doing something wrong, calling them in and coaching them on it. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a point where there's got to be boundaries and there's got to be, tough love and all of that. But in the first level of it, it should be a coaching experience. It should be a talk. It should be an action plan. This is what we can do to help you. How can I further assist you to make you improve? That's what I call team member empowerment.
I like that. I
Mm.
love that part. Um, okay. What about the now going through all the COVID and losing people or
Mhm.
just dealing with the whole COVID thing and and people's mental health, comes into play with that. I mean, that could be a reason why people don't come back as well, right? I mean, maybe they
Mhm.
just need a mental health break. Let me just get away from this
Yes.
stuff
Yes.
because, like you said, even before COVID hit, there was issues within our industry
Mhm.
anyway. But now that just basically took it up to the nth degree, right? So
Mhm.
first of all, how do you identify that maybe someone's going through a mental health crisis? I guess that is the term I would use. How do you?
Mhm.
Well, let's talk about that first. How do you identify that, and then how do you maybe remedy as a leader? What would you do as
Mhm.
a leader?
So sure. First of all, if somebody's actions change, like you had a team member that used to always be on time and all of a sudden they're late all the time, or you had somebody that used to be a rock star employee and all of a sudden they're giving you 60, 70% instead of the 150% they used to give you. Um, you you can sometimes even see it if you've really been with this person. Like if this person was somebody that used to smile all the time and all of a sudden they're not smiling anymore, obviously you don't want to be in their business per se, but you can call them in and just, I just want to check on you. I just want to make sure that you're okay. And in the instance of they're not giving you 100% like they used to, or they're being late, that's a perfect segue to talk to that person and see if something is going wrong. See if something is going on in their personal life, or, maybe they have a sick parent or something like that, that you can just basically have them unload. Sometimes that's all the person needs is somebody to talk to. Or if there's something that you can do for that person. And that's where the flexibility comes in sometimes, where if the person keeps being late, maybe they just need to be changed to a different shift, or maybe they just need specific hours for a few months or a few weeks. If it's something that you can do for them, then yeah, ask them what's going on so you can help, right?
I like that. I like that.
Mhm.
All right, I got you. Now, this is one thing as a leader, I was not necessarily this was not my strong suit, okay? So, I'm going to ask how you would assist me and
Mhm.
it's how to lead with empathy.
Mm. So this is something that's not a lot of people's strong suit. But what I noticed, what I found to work for me is it's very simple. You just turn it around. Like, what if it were me? What if I were in this situation? How would I want somebody to treat me? It's basically how I see it. Like, so for example, a simple example I can have, again, going back to somebody coming in late. Maybe they have a sick kid or a sick parent. Like, what if I were in that situation? How would I want to be treated in this moment? And that's basically it. That's basically leading with empathy. And obviously, sometimes because it's a business and the business must go on, we're not going to be able to give them exactly what they need to make it better. But at least we can compromise. And at least we can show them that we're paying attention and we know that this is happening to them and we are with them. And, we may not be able to give you what exactly you need, but this is what I can give you, right?
Okay. Well, I wish
So
I
I
had
think
you
it's
before.
very simple. It's just asking yourself the question, how would you want to be treated?
Okay. No, I got you. I got you. Yeah. It's funny. I mean, that sounds really simple, but I guess I never thought.
You don't
Some things
think
you
of it.
never think
No,
about,
you
right?
don't. You don't think of it. No, you
Yeah.
don't think of it.
Yeah.
I
When you're
get it
in
all the
it.
time. They're like, Oh my God, that's so true. Like that's
Yeah.
all I had to do, really.
Interesting, interesting. Now, do people contact you um when things are they is it more what am I trying to say? Is it before things get out of control or after when things
I
are out of
usually get the
control?
fire. I usually get
Really?
fire in the building. But that goes back to because people don't know what they don't know, and until the, proverbial ish hit the fan, they don't know, that there's a problem.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I got you.
So
I
I'm
got you.
used to working in the craziness and, trying to put out fires.
Okay. And your past hospitality or hotel experience helps you with all that stuff, right? Because you can relate
Oh
with,
yes. Oh
yeah.
yes.
Do,
Yes.
do, do you have more street cred because you've done it, you've been on property, you've done these things before?
I think yes, because the difference I have is that I'm not giving people, what I read in the books. I'm actually giving them from actual, experience, right?
You've
So
experienced it,
that
yeah.
helps a lot.
Yeah.
I was in hotels for 18 years, so there's not much I didn't see.
I can I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Well, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad that you have that street cred where people will bring you in and basically say, hey, she this is her experience. This is your experience now. This is what you're doing now, and how that can relate to what they're dealing with now. So this is good. Now this is good stuff. Let me see. I'm gonna read. Let's see. Lonnie says, "Love your team. Train your team 365 days a year. Communication daily.
Yes,
You
Lonnie,
should be doing
yes.
that. Yes, yes, yes." And then he says, "Yes, Stephanie. Boom. Caring about a team member is so important, which is appreciated." So yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
Lonnie is on the same. We're on the same page. I mean that's, but like you say, we don't know what we don't know, and sometimes in the heat of the battle, what you forget. And to me, I mean, there's the bad managers or whatever are the people that don't want to improve. Okay, they're
Hmm.
just the way they are, and they can care less. This is my style, and this and that, and this is how I do it, right? And they don't want to learn anything else. But the ones that
Hmm.
are open to change and will maybe bring somebody in or allow someone to come in and say, to not necessarily, I guess maybe evaluate them and see how they're
Hmm.
doing certain things. Those are the people that they can still be helped. But the ones that don't, that
Oh
just close it out,
yes.
they don't need to
Oh
be
yeah.
helped and they need to be out.
Yeah, there's some people that are just stuck in their ways, and no matter what you do or what you tell them, they have an argument. They're those people that have a problem for every solution type of thing. But
Yes,
yeah, and believe it or not, lately I've been finding less and less of those people.
well, that's
I've
good.
I've found more and more of people who are becoming open to the way things are these days, right? And it's probably because we have these the millennials and Gen Zers that are like, I'll just not work.
Yes, yes.
So I think there's and I try to get to that compromising place where we can have these two, the Gen Zers and the millennials and the Gen Xers and even sometimes boomers still, like, where there's got to be that median where we can all meet. Like it's not going to be 100% perfect, but there's got to be some place where we can meet and all be okay, right? And
Yes,
that's where we want to live.
yes, yes, yes. Now, what do you think about this lack of training that I keep hearing about?
Oh my goodness. I drill it every day, all the time, because the more lack of training we have, the more we're not training these people and we're throwing them into these fires, the more we're going to have these issues with our guests, the more we're going to have unhappy team members. It's just going to keep being a cycle. We've got to train our people. That's just full stop. Like there's no way around it, you know? We've got to train our people, and A lot of people, believe it or not, are leaving hotel jobs 3, 4 days, 2, 3 weeks, into the job because they feel like they don't know what they're doing,
Mm, okay. Okay.
right? And so
Interesting.
that shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't be happening.
So why
So
why aren't we training people? Didn't we train before? Were we training before this COVID thing?
no, we weren't. I'm just being honest. We always wanted people who are ready to work, and they have all this experience already. But now it's worse because we don't have people to do the job. So now we're like, well, sorry, you got to start fixing beds the day you start work because we don't have any housekeepers to do this. So if you're here, you got to do what you got to do, and there's no time,
Will it ever
right?
change? Is it ever gonna get better?
I hope so. I really do. I try to drill it. Like I think I say this at least 10 to 15 times a day. We've got to train our people. I say it all the time. And I hope it gets better because it's not even, and I keep saying, like, it's not like the training where I come in. It's just basically shadowing somebody else, the regular ins and outs of their job, the hard skills of their job. We've got to teach them how to do it, you know even if they've been in hotels before, even if they've fixed beds or checked in guests for 15 years, we still have to teach them how to do it here in this
Yes,
property.
exactly.
So
Exactly. Hmm.
we'll just have to
Wow.
see how this one plays out.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking by the end of this interview that you have it all solved for us, but I guess it's a kind of
I wish. I wish.
it's kind of a wait and see, man. Lonnie says Stephanie is spot on with the training protocols prior to COVID going forward ROI on your what is it? Yeah, ROI on your team. And then
Mhm.
what else? Let's see. And then
Return
Stacy
on,
Edmonds
yeah.
says, COVID or no COVID, lack of training is in any industry is a recipe for disaster.
It really is. It really
Yeah,
is.
good point. Good point, Stacy. That's my brother. So thank you for that point. So yeah, so I appreciate that. Wow. So where do we go from here?
So from here, we train our people. We stop being rude to our people. We try to be more empathetic and more, and empower our people, basically. Just give them the tools they need. Stop telling them that they can only give a guest $25 credit on a $525 room. Like, let them give them something that the guest will be happy about. What the guest is not yelling and screaming at your front desk agent. Be more flexible. Ask your team members questions. Find out if they're okay. Let them know what they're doing wrong. Tell them what your expectations are. Communication is key to all of this. Be clear. Like, make sure you understand what you're asking your team member to do before
Yes,
you even go ask them what to. Make sure you know what you want them to do before you go ask
exactly.
them, right?
Yes.
So those are the ways to empower your team members and get them to give you that loyalty. And like you said, Russell, when a GM walks their floor, shows that they're hands on, at least says hi to their team members, the team members will love them, will follow them, will be loyal, and will not get up and leave. At least not just
I
like that.
agree. I agree. No, I
So,
agree. I can only go off of my own experience even as a direct. It's funny. I didn't wait to be a GM to act like a GM. And mind you, I never wanted to be a GM. I don't. I'm not gonna say I got forced in the position, but it's one of these situations where one GM didn't work out and he left,
hmm
and they needed someone who had been at the property, and I had been at the property as a director of sales and marketing for about 3 years.
hmm
They said, "Oh, you'll be the perfect person for this job." Although that was someone else's dream, it wasn't mine, but I did it anyway. But it was I didn't like it. It wasn't my cup of tea. I'm more of a director of sales and marketing kind of person. But
hmm
but it was an easy transition because I knew the people already, and that started from day one when I was a director of sales at that property. I walked around to meet everyone because I wanted to know
Mhm.
who I was. I mean, if I'm walking the floors, I'm checking rooms, and they don't know who this guy is, I mean, what are they going to do, or how are they going to react? So basically, I wanted to
Exactly.
make sure they were comfortable with me going in and checking rooms and things like that. And that's what I did, because every day I checked at least 5 rooms a day. So I want to make sure the
Mhm.
housekeepers knew who I was. I walked in the laundry just to see, because I used to be a housekeeping manager. So all those past experiences, I made sure I checked on the people that I used to check in on when I came up in the industry, right? So I didn't, because I had this whatever, this sales position, that I thought I was too
Mm.
good to go and speak to anyone else. No, I never
Exactly.
had that, because I started down there with in housekeeping. So
Yep.
what,
Yep.
that's where, to be honest with you, that's where I was most comfortable for years, hanging out with them, right? So but we all got to get out of our way sometimes. But
Mhm. Mhm.
but yeah, but yeah, GMs need to, like you said. I mean, I'm just going to echo what you said. I mean, treat your people with respect, know where they are. I mean, and go and say hi to them. I mean, every morning I would
Yes.
do that, so it was no big deal for me to do that, or to have donuts, every couple of weeks, or whatever. And
Exactly.
I treated those people like gold, because they were the hardest working people in the hotel.
Exactly.
So if
Exactly.
one of them didn't show up versus I didn't come to work, well, it didn't matter if I didn't come to work. It mattered if they didn't come to work. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep. Your
people
team
have a,
members are your greatest assets. Yes.
exactly. Take care of your team members, and they will take care of your guests. That's it.
Yep. That's the bottom line.
That's it. I'm about to
The
drop the mic
bottom
now.
line.
That's it. All right. Well, we're coming to the end of this. Hey, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Sure, you can either get a hold of me here on LinkedIn at Stephanie Cradden or on my website, which is www.demboinc.com.
Very good. And what does DEMBO stand for?
Mhm. Dembo is actually a long story, and I'll tell you another time.
See, I threw a curveball right there. So you weren't expecting that one. But thank you so much, Stephanie. I do appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience, and sharing what we need to do to get back on track, because that's a lot of hotels are going through this same thing that we're talking about. And but maybe they don't know where to start. I mean, and then
Mhm.
Stephanie is here. She's here. She's
Yes,
successful. You're hired gun, right? You don't work for
I
one company.
am.
You're hired gun, right?
No,
So
I am.
there you go. Okay, so we first need to identify that we have a problem, and then who can assist us with that problem. So Stephanie is
Exactly.
here to assist this with this problem that we all have in our hospitality. If it's restaurants, if it's hotels, if it's our tourism boards, whatever it is,
Mhm.
we all have these issues going on that we need to deal with. So Stephanie Karadin is one of those people that we need to reach out to, and make sure she keeps us in alignment, if you will. So, is that
Thank you
good? Is
so
that a good
much,
one?
Russell.
But thank you so much. I want to thank everybody for joining me. I want to thank Mr. Lonnie Wolf, of course, Mr. Stacy Edmond, Robin Moncrief, Craig Gian Grosso, David London. Thank you so much for joining. Let's see who else. Who else? Everyone else that didn't chime in, I appreciate you guys just listening and watching. But yeah, so we talked to Stephanie for a while. I mean, this show could go. I had to tailor my questions for like an hour. That's it. Okay, but this show could have easily gone to 2 hours.
Go
Okay,
forever, right?
yes,
Yep.
but we definitely have to have you come back on and talk
I'd
some
love
more, because
to.
this is good stuff, and I do appreciate your time, and thank you, and
Thank
let people
you
know
so
that
much.
this one thing.
Mhm.
How did we come to find each other?
We found each other here on LinkedIn, actually, and I want to say it was through Calvin. I
Okay,
want
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
believe.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Yes, yes, yes. Calvin, I was actually on his show
Yes,
last week. It
yes.
hasn't aired yet, but I was on his show last week. So the reason I wanted you to say that, because I wanted
Mhm.
people to know the power of social media, the power of
Oh
LinkedIn,
yeah.
right?
Oh
Because
yes.
people, some people are hesitant to They don't want to be
Mhm.
involved. Or, oh no, I don't want people knowing my business. I'm like, you don't want to know your business. I'm like, what? Are you in business? How are you gonna be
Are you
in
in
business
business?
or working
And
or trying to find a job?
yep, right? And
Yes,
Robin, I know you were on Don't Look Under the Bed as well, right?
yes, 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 yes,
Robin,
yes.
Robin is my girl too. So
Okay, okay, very good. See, so this is the connections you make on LinkedIn are
oh yes,
powerful,
they
and it's
are.
what you make of it. I mean, if you don't want to communicate with people, then don't do it. Okay, but if you
Exactly.
do want to, there's no excuse for not doing it because
Oh yeah.
the platform is here to do that, to reach out to people, and I appreciate that. So thank you again so much, Stephanie, for coming
Thank
on, for
you for
reaching
having me.
out, to having this conversation, and the conversation we had before this. So yeah, so
Mhm.
thank you so much. It's 2:06, so I'm gonna let you guys go. It's Taco Tuesday, so remember, go out and have some non-meat eat tacos. I don't eat meat. I don't know if you knew that, Stephanie. I'm
Yes,
a
I know, I know.
okay, okay. So I'm plant-based 100%. So make sure you go out and have
Nice.
some non-meat eat tacos. Okay. So anyway, but you guys, thank you again for joining. I gotta cue my music up here. So thank you guys. I appreciate everything you guys have done or listening, and I thank you again, Stephanie, for coming on. And
Thank you
have
for
a great
having
week.
me.
Thank you
Bye
for
bye.
joining On Air with Russell of Hotels. Please tune in every Tuesday at 1 p.m. as we talk to other hospitality professionals. Your feedback is important to Russell. Feel free to email him at russell@russellofhotels.com with any questions or suggestions. Until next time, try not to be a person of success, rather become a person of great value.